Yeah, so here we are. Nice seeing you all. We've had 3 sessions already. This is our 4th. Is it a 4th? Yeah, it's the 4th session on financial freedom. I'm really excited about what we're going to be talking today. Today we're going to be talking about spending, and maybe we might spend some time talking about budgeting as well. But yeah, it's such an exciting topic, and those who have been with us from the beginning, or at least if you're here last time, when we were talking about, what were we talking about last time? About investing. We had a really rich discussion last time on investments and what investing means and the challenges of investment and what to look for when you're thinking of investing and how to differentiate between investment and business and what is the significance of that. So we had a fantastic time having this wonderful, really rich dialogue and discussion. It wasn't a one-man show at all. It was a very good discussion that a lot of people were bringing in their experiences in one area or another. So that was really good. And hopefully today we'll have a very interactive discussion as well when it comes to the issue of spending and even in the area of budgeting. We'd like to hear from you guys, your own experiences, what you've been doing, what has worked, what hasn't worked. If you have any question, feel free to ask the question, even during the presentation. There are not so many of us, it's just 9 of us by my count. So feel free to interrupt if there's something that is not very clear, you want to ask a question. And I'll be trying to allow as many breaks for discussions, as many breaks as possible between slides or something like that, so that we can encourage a conversation rather than just a presentation. Okay. So without for those who are new to us, most of you seems to be people that we've interacted before, but in case there anybody who's new or anybody who is watching this as a recording and wondering who we are Lifetime Success Seminars. My name is Charles Stephen. I'm a co-host of Lifetime Success Seminar alongside Stephen Buraganya, who was orchestrating things at the beginning. Steve, can you give us a wave? He's right there. And Lifetime Success Seminars, in a nutshell, we run programs. At the moment, we're running them through Zoom, and we're raising conversation and awareness on matters of personal development. So anything to do with finance, business, lifestyle, family, relationships, physical well-being, mental well-being. All those areas are the areas that we cover. So we raise conversation in those areas. We run presentations, debates, discussions, you name it. We do all that. And we run our meetings every fortnight, every other Saturday. And here we are at the moment. Our topic of conversation is on money matters. We're talking about how to achieve financial freedom. And that's the series that we've been doing for the last 4 Saturdays. And this is the 4th. And there is a good chance that we might have a 5th installment as well to finish the whole thing, because there are a couple of other things that needs to be talked about as well. And we don't work in isolation. We work in partnership with To Live Women's Group. We work in partnership with ECHA. We work in partnership with different organizations here in Reading, because we need to work together to really raise this awareness. It's all about raising awareness. It's all about raising these conversations and getting the community engaged and involved in these conversations, and therefore you can't work in isolation. So working with these fantastic organizations, and some of the members of these organizations are actually here with us, and that's how we collaborate and push these agendas forward. So without wasting any more time, allow me to share with you my screen, and then we can get back to our conversation. Okay. Right. Let's see. You can all see that, right? Give me a thumbs up if you can see it. Yeah, brilliant. Now, let me go really quickly to where we were. I don't want us to get stuck on things that we've done before. We've done all the statistics. So in a nutshell, let me just go back here. These are the things that we've been covering. We started with understanding money. We talked about savings, and then we went to talk about investing. And so today we'll focus on spending. Now, just a bit of a recap on the investment side, which is what we did last time. We talked about the business versus investment and how to tell the difference. And we said when it comes to business, it requires input of time and skill. So it's an active thing. You have to spend your time there, and you have to involve your skill on what you're doing, and that makes it business. While for investment is passive. Your money is actually working for you. And we even looked at Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow quadrant, and we saw all these different facets: the employment area, the self-employment area, the business owner area, and the investor area. And we talked about it's not the matter of whether one is more glamorous than another, but it's just the fact that you need to understand their differences and how your life fits around these things and what really works for you. I mean, you could be an employee all your life and still be very successful. You could be a business owner and be a failure. You understand what I mean? So it's not that being one makes you a success and being the other makes you a failure. No, but it's just understanding these facets and understanding how all these can work towards your financial freedom. You could be an employee and end up becoming financially free, financially independent. You could be self-employed and end up financially independent. You could be a business owner and be financially independent. And what we saw is that the key thing is to learn to invest, because when you start investing, that's when you can create your passive income. And when you create your passive income, that's when you can have your freedom, that true freedom. When you talk about permanent freedom, where your passive income exceeds your expenditures. So I don't want to spend too much time there. We also talked about assets and liabilities, and we simply defined an asset as something that brings you positive cash flow, which means it is something that puts money in your pocket. Okay, and the liability, we said, is something that takes away money away from your pocket. It's something that generates negative cash flow. So it's very difficult to say whether something in particular, a certain thing is an asset and a certain thing is a liability, because one thing can be an asset to one person, but be a liability to someone else. And we gave an example of a car, for instance. To a taxi driver, his car, basically, is an asset. Why? Because it puts money in his pocket. It's what pays the bills. It's what brings money in. It brings positive cash flow. Okay, but if you just buy a car for leisure, just for commuting, just for having fun, then that car becomes a liability. Why is it a liability? Because it's not putting money into your pocket. If anything, it's taking money out of your pocket. It leaves you out of pocket, because you have to pay for fuel, you have to pay for insurance, you have to pay for all these things. And probably because now you have a car to commute, to go here, there, and everywhere, you start traveling far and wide, you start spending money because you have so much time. You go to the beach, you do this, that, and the other. So in a way, it becomes a liability. So the same car can be an asset to one person and a liability to someone else based on circumstances. So we see that sometimes it's not always correct to label certain things as assets and certain things as liabilities. So for instance, to say a house is an asset, or a jewelry is liability, because to a jeweler, jewelry and precious stones are assets, because that's how that person makes money. But to someone who is just wearing bling bling and to look nice, it can be a liability. So you see, so you can't label them that way. But once you understand this difference, that one brings positive cash flow and another one brings negative cash flow, then you can really navigate through this space a lot easier, and you can make these decisions you can be better informed to make better decisions when it comes to the things that you're buying, and whether you're buying assets or liabilities, or whether you're thinking of investing in something. You make better decisions because you know whether you're buying assets or liabilities. Right, now let's go to the area of spending, right? Which is an area that I think we're going to spend some time today, and hopefully we'll have a very rich discussion, because it's something that we all do. With investment, for instance, some people might switch off and say, you know what, I haven't started investing. I'm not an investor. I'm not investing. Therefore, I don't quite understand these things, so I'll just be quiet. Or in saving, someone might say, I haven't actually started saving. I'm not very experienced in saving, and therefore I don't have much to say on this area. But when it comes to spending, I mean, we all do spend, isn't it? I mean, at the end of the day, that's what we do. We pay our bills. We pay for rent. We take our kids to play areas. We pay for different things. We pay for the internet, we pay for the mobile phone, we pay for all sorts of things. We spend money all the time. So we have to understand that spending is part and parcel of our financial management. And therefore, it's very important to kind of look into spending and understand how spending can work in our favor or against us if we're not quite careful. So I'm hoping for a really rich discussion, because we will all have experience in one way or another when it comes to the area of spending. So when it comes to spending, I've got this quote that says that think beyond your means and act within. This statement will make more sense as we go on talking about spending, because especially in the world that we live right now, it's a very materialistic world, and it's the world driven by advertising and desire to match up with the Joneses and try to get every new gadget that comes along and to be in the forefront of technology and almost like belong and say, like, yeah, I've got this, I've got that, I've got that. And unfortunately, that has driven people to madness almost, because people spend an arm and a leg on things that really they couldn't afford otherwise, and that becomes a problem. It really causes a dent on their credit history. It gets them into financial turmoil, all because of that desire, that urge to keep spending, to kind of keeping up with the Joneses and be like everybody else, if you like. And so this is the thing. Think beyond your means. When it comes to you thinking, when it comes to you planning, you can plan as much as you like. You can plan beyond your means. You can plan even beyond your budget. But when it comes to acting, when it comes to spending, you have to act within your means. You have to act within your budget. You have to really sit down. When we talk about budget, we'll probably go more in details into that. You have to really look at your circumstances and say, is this really the best way for me to spend what I have? So that's what we're going to be focusing on today. Also in spending, there is something else I want to point you towards, which I think is really important when it comes to the issue of spending, and that is delayed gratification. Okay, which is in essence immediate versus later reward, and this is a challenge, and it's something that if we master well, I think it will really help us when we want something. You want a new car, or you want a new watch, or you want a new phone. How long can you wait? How long can you suspend that desire, that thing you want, until you can afford it, or until you raise enough cash for it, or until your budget allows you to do it, or until your plan has set a contingency for it. That's what delayed gratification is all about, because every single day we get bombarded by advertisement. Every single time our things break down, your telly breaks down, that breaks down, your car breaks down, or this breaks down. How good are we into delaying ourselves to buy things, sometimes impulsively? How good are we to delay that for the greater good? You know what I mean? Because sometimes I've realized, and this has happened even to me sometimes, you have this urge to get this new thing, and sometimes if you can delay yourself long enough, that urge dissipates after some time, either because you come to your senses, or maybe because you had time to look at your budget really well and you realize honestly you can't afford it at that time, or maybe you plan it for a future time where at that time the urge is not there, and therefore you don't buy it anymore. And therefore when you learn to delay do spending, when you learn to delay your spending, sometimes it helps you, because sometimes some of the things that you would have spent on impulse are not the things you really need, and the moment you delay them, that impulse goes away, and it saves you a lot of heartache and a lot of fortune as well. Another issue is about credit spending. Probably next time we'll talk about debt management, and probably spend more time on the issue of credit. But suffice to say today that as a norm, you should avoid credit spending, especially consumer credit spending. What do I mean by consumer credit? I mean when you are borrowing to buy on consumer goods. You're borrowing to buy a telly, you're borrowing to buy a car, you're borrowing to buy things that you consume. You understand? It's different from from business loans, from commercial credit, for instance, where you're borrowing to invest or you're borrowing to start a business. That's a completely different thing. And probably we'll speak of the difference of these two in more detail when we talk about debt management. But when it comes to consumer credits, as a rule of thumb, the gold standard would be avoid it altogether. Why? Why am I saying that? Because if you can't afford to pay for it from your pocket and you have to borrow, which literally means you're borrowing from your future income, basically you're setting yourself up for a worse financial situation in the future than you have now. Let me give you an example. Say you earn £1,000 a month and your expenditures are £1,000 a month, okay? And here you are, you want to get yourself something that is worth £400, and obviously you can't afford with your £1,000, and therefore you're thinking, now I need to borrow this 400. Okay, so what's going to happen if you borrow that 400? You have to pay it back at some point. Okay, now if you borrow that 400, forget about the interest, forget about everything else. If you borrow it now and get that thing you really wanted to get now, and it's a consumer good, something that you just use, it's not going to bring you any money. What's going to happen next month? You're going to be earning the same £1,000 that you always earn. Your expenditures are always £1,000 anyway, but then you still have to pay the 400. So let's say you're very good and you've paid that 400. You remain with £600. Now, how are you going to make the £600 cover your £1,000 expenses for the next month? So what you've done, basically, you've set yourself up for failure later on now. Does that make sense? So really, when you take credit, basically you're binding yourself to a worse financial situation in the future than you have now, and that is the case. Basically, the moment you take credit, that becomes a liability. A debt is not an asset; it's a liability. Why? Because you have to pay it back. You understand? And therefore, by saying that, I'm not saying that all credit is bad, because that is not the case by any means. But you have to take that into account, that every single time you take credit, you have actually taken up a liability, because it is something that is going to leave you out of pocket in the future, and therefore it's going to leave you in a worse financial situation in the future than you would be if you didn't have that debt. Does that kind of make sense? So when you talk of spending and you're thinking of credit spending, you have to think of that by you spending on credit, you're actually you're setting yourself up on a worse financial situation in the future as compared to a person who is not taking it on credit. And that's why when people are trying to sort their financial situation, say your financial situation has not been really good, your credit score is not really nice, and you're trying to set your things right. Maybe you're thinking of buying a house, you're thinking of this, so you want to have a really good credit score, and you go to these financial advisors and you want them to advise you and help you to kind of set your finances straight. The first thing they will deal with is your debts. You need to bring your debts under control. You need to manage that. Why? Because basically, if there is one thing that is going to derail you every single time, is debts. And usually, more often than not, it's the consumer debts, things like credit card debts, personal loans, and things like that. It's very rarely issues like mortgages. I mean, yes, mortgages can really derail people, or business loans, yes, but for most people, it's usually the consumer debts like credit card debts and personal loans that tend to derail them in the long run and mess up their finances, because in a way, like I explained before, it puts you on a worse stead in your future finances by doing it. The next thing is plan your spending. We'll talk more about this when we talk about budgeting. That any spending you do, make sure it's planned. If you find yourself spending your money on something that you did not plan for it, you're already walking down a treacherous path. Why am I saying that? Because unless you know exactly, unless you have, Jim Rohn has this quote. I'll paraphrase it and I'll kind of adapt it for what I'm talking about now. He says, don't start a book until you've finished it. Don't start a project until you've finished it. Don't start a journey until you finish it. Okay? So I want to add there as well. And I say, don't start spending until you've finished it. What do I mean by that? What I mean by that is that if you've got £1,000, before you start spending the first pound, you need to know exactly where every single pound in that 1,000 is going to go. Because if you don't, and you start spending without knowing, you're gonna end up running out of money before the month ends. Okay, but if you know exactly, like right, you start planning and say like, right, I've got £1,000. This is what I need to do. This is what I need to do. What am I going to do? Or this I won't be able to do this month. I'm putting it on another month. Can I do this? This is more important, so I'll do this month. And you plan everything before you start spending. Then it makes your spending stress-free almost. Okay, and therefore you'll be doing things without even worrying about, am I really going to run out of money? Why? Because everything is done according to the plan. So we'll talk more about this when we talk about budgeting. But suffice to say now that make sure that every single spending that you do with every penny that you have is a planned one. Another one, I think this is also a good one. It's mindful spending. And this can come in all shapes and form. That when you're spending, when you're thinking value of something, think value in terms of hours or days of work that it takes you to make that kind of money. Say for instance, you want to treat yourself with a nice weekend away or something, and that whole thing costs £200. Sometimes think of £200. If in your account you have £1,000, you think, I can spend £200. It's not a problem. It's easy because I have £1,000, so money is there to be spent. But sometimes when you think £200 is me working full time for 2 days, it's 2 days worth of work full time. It kind of gives you a different perspective to whether it's worth spending your 2 full days of work on what you're trying to do. Do you understand what I'm saying? When we were in Tanzania, we were running a food processing business. We were producing maize flour, and so we were processing it, packaging it, distributing it, doing that kind of thing. So that was one of the businesses that we were doing. And after doing that business for so long and getting used to the numbers and how it works, the 25 kilogram pack, 25 kilogram sack of maize flour costs a certain amount of money and this, that, and the other. And it got to a point, every time we were thinking of spending, by us and me and my wife, we would think of it in terms of the bags of flour that we were selling, because to us that meant value. Every bag had certain value to us. And in the business, rather than talking of how much things cost, we always talked of how many 25 kg bags of flour it equates to, if that makes sense. So to us, value meant certain number of bags of flour, if that makes sense. And therefore to us, if we were thinking of how valuable something was, we would think of it in terms of, how many bags of flour would that be? How many bags of flour have we sold on that expenditure? That kind of thing. And to us, that made more sense. And it made us think of value more than just paper. Because sometimes when it comes to spending money, or especially this country where everything is electronic, it's easy. On a click of a button, you bought something. On a swipe of the card, you bought something. Now it's not even a swipe. Now on a tap of the card, you bought something. So sometimes you may not quite think value when you're spending. But when you equate the value of something on things like hours of work or things that are tangible, it may help you really plan your spending better and really think value with every spending. Another thing, giving. Now, when we talk of spending, we can't talk of spending without talking of giving, because giving is part and parcel of spending. And my personal convictions are that giving is probably the most important part of spending. When it comes to spending, you have to think about giving first. And I'm absolutely sure and convinced that right in this group here, I'm surrounded by a bunch of givers. People that give a lot, people that are so charitable, and that is great. It's great to give. It's great to give generously. It's great to give so much. giving of time, giving of resources, giving of money, giving of everything is great. But what I want us to talk about today is about planning your giving. That's one thing that we tends to let us down a lot. I've spoken to quite a lot of people when it comes to spending and budgeting, and people are like, man, yeah, you're talking about budgeting, you're talking about spending, that you have to do this, but my friend, oh, you all you need is just one phone call, man, from back home, and the whole budget gets blown out. Someone calls from home, a family or someone, and there is a need, and you have to help out, you have to give, and that messes everything up. I agree. There will come a time where people will come to you and they will need your help, and we are obliged to help, because that's what charity is all about. That's what humanity is all about. But if you do not plan your giving, if your giving is not part of your budget, if you do not set aside that this is what I'm going to be giving, this is what I'm able to give, because let's be honest here, you can't solve everybody's problem around the world. That is the fact. And yes, some things are more important than others, but unless you have a plan, you can never tell that. Let me give you an example. If someone comes to you today, right? Oh, let me change it around. Say if someone comes to you at the end of the month, okay, towards the end of the month, you've pretty much spent all your money, it's almost running out. You're almost waiting for the next paycheck, you're almost running out completely, you haven't got anything. And someone comes to you and say, I've got this need, man, I need your help, I need £100. Okay? What do? You can comfortably tell that person, my friend, I'm really sorry, I haven't got it. With a really open heart, because the truth is, you don't have it. Really, if you look in your bank account, you've only got £20. You haven't got £100 because you have actually spent it all. You're actually coming to the end of the month. So that's well and fine. So maybe you might tell that person, you know what? Wait till I'm getting paid at the end of the month. So let me check next month when I get my salary. I'll see how I can help you. Most likely that's what you would say, isn't it? And when the money comes in, maybe you might see how much you could give the person to help that person out. But let me switch things around now. At the very beginning of the month, you've got your salary, you've got £2,000 in your account. You haven't spent it on anything. You haven't even paid your rent. And that same person comes to you and says, oh, my friend, I'm really struggling. I've got this problem. Can you help me out? Okay. Now, if you don't have a plan, you look at your account and you think, I've got £2,000. Okay. And you'd say, you know what? I've got the money. Why can't I help this person? You might say, yeah, I can give this person £200 because I think I have money. But the question is, do you really have that money? Because the only difference is just the timing of when this person has come, but your bills are exactly the same. And come the end of the month, that £2,000 is probably going to be gone. Do you understand what I'm trying to say here? So unless you actually know where your money needs to go, you can't really tell whether you do have money to give or not. So this is what I'm suggesting. The best way to do is to always have a budget, and in your budget to also have a budget for giving. So this is what, for instance, this is what I do. I have a charity pot, and basically every single month I put money in there. Whether I've given it away or I haven't, it doesn't matter. I put it away, and I know that every month this is the amount of money put in there. So if someone comes to me and says, my friend, can you help me on this thing? What I do, because I know every other penny I have is budgeted for, so I can't take it out. But all I do, I go into my charity funds and look at how much I have there, and then that will determine whether I can help that person or not. So if I go to that person and say, my friend, this is what I can help you with, it does not mean that that's all the money I have, but it means this is the money that I've set aside for charity. Does that make sense? So by doing that, it allows you to really be charitable and really help out and really give as much as you like, depending on how much you put in away. But at the same time, it doesn't have to keep blowing your budget every single month after month, because people will always have needs. People will always need your help. You will always need to give. Giving is part and parcel of our lives. Giving is part and parcel of spending. And it's something that we'll always do. And it's something that is great to do. But the most important thing is to always plan your giving. Okay? Right. Now, before I go into Parkinson's law of money, I want to allow for a bit of a discussion based on what I've been talking about spending and see what others think, and then we'll crack on. So what do you guys think? Tough crowd, eh? Hey, Steve.
Yeah, well, for me, what I would say is, well, I'll say personally, but if any other body will identify themselves with this, then that's okay. But most time, we kind of struggle, or we think, we plan, we pray on how to get the money, right? So what can I do? 5 jobs, 6 jobs to bring the money. But we are very poor on the planning, how the money goes, on the spending, how do we do? In that area, I think we need to really be keen on it, because if we sit down for real, for sure, I don't know how many years, Ren, you've been in the UK or I've been here. If you're going to sit down and how much money is passed through your hands, it's quite substantial, right? And of course, we can say, well, there's something that was to be done. Of course, the bills, you can't skip them under your leg. You're going to pay them. But again, if you kind sit down and reflect, you'll see there are some points, that maybe we had an opportunity to do something, with the money that came through us, but we didn't. So as we're having this conversation, I think, it's a time to kind of reflect and see where we can press that reset button, because it's not about how much is coming, it's how much is going. Because you see, either way, you are earning 1,000 or, you're earning 2,000, somehow you're still alive, you somehow managed to, do whatever you did, maybe borrow or whatever, to solve the whatever situation or circumstance that you were in, and the life went on. But the key thing is really to kind of now learn, how we kind of spend, when it comes, how do we look after it? Because most of the time what I'm seeing is like the money is like there is already a hole. You see, it's coming from the left-hand side, say, through you, and there is already a hole on the other side. So it just passed through you, coming, doop, it goes on the other side, So it just passes your account, and just to register that, this money passed your account, and then tomorrow is gone. So you're gonna. So it's a cycle that which you really need to, you need to be able to to stop as much as we can. Let it come, but let's try to stop as much as we can to make less go up. And for me, if we can't do that, it's a good thing. So thank you. I don't want to do too much.
I got two cents of conversation. Carry on.
Go on.
I think a Tanzanian friend once joked to me, and he said, in Swahili, mshahara za huku hazikutani. For those who don't understand it, is the salaries here never get to meet. And I thought that it's actually hilarious. That was very true, because there's just so much that comes in. But I kind of, on the flip side of it, I really like this topic, because there is a good verse in the Bible which says, a poor man and his money part company easily. And I think when we take heed of that notice, we realize that for us to be able to go, or to be able to, not for us, but we need to be conscious in our expenses. And I think I like how Charles says, it doesn't mean like if somebody from home calls and says, I want money, then you have to send money. There is a book I read ages ago. It's called The Millionaire Next Door. It's a really good book. And it says the people who are wealthy, they know every single coin that leaves their budget, and hence we should maybe try and invest on things like spreadsheets. I mean, even nowadays, Google is giving us free spreadsheets. We can create spreadsheets and be able to look at our budget, at least save a day every month, so that we can be able to figure out our expenses. And once we figure out what we are spending on what, it becomes a bit of an easier way to budget and move forward. That's just probably how. But yeah, I'm liking the conversation so far.
Thank you so much, Rennie. Thank you for your contribution, and Steve as well. Anybody else wants to come in before we continue the presentation?
Yeah, can I say something, please, Charles?
Yeah, go on, Tommy.
I just want to emphasize, you know, it seems so trivial and so small, you know, the advice, plan your spending, but it's so important. I mean, in terms of stress, and, you know, like you were saying earlier, don't start a book or project until you finished it. Plan before spending to make spending more stress-free. Basically, the stress can manifest itself into physical as well as mental problems, you see. So planning your spending and making sure that, you know, this money is put to this thing, this money is put to the other thing, throughout the month, and making sure that all your budgets are met can really help when it comes to your health. You know, you see a lot of people out here, you know, they get themselves into debt, and it leads to them being depressed or anxious, and, you know, it can even manifest itself into physical problems, you know, lupus, or, you know, loads of other different ailments, you know, different things. So I think it's very important to plan your spending when it comes to stress, because, you know, plan before your spending makes life more stress-free. That's basically what I'm trying to say.
Absolutely. That is very true. That is very true, because you don't realize how much we get affected emotionally with our financial issues, but they do affect us immensely, and in small ways, in big ways. Sometimes we think it's only when we are struggling financially, we have problems, you know, you've got the bailiffs right knocking on your door, that's when it becomes a mental problem. No, it could be something so trivial, little things, you know, and it really causes you a lot of stress, because you're thinking, oh, am I going to make it to the end of the month, like what Rennie was saying, you know, is my salary going to make it to the end of the month? Oh, can I do this? But sometimes the reason we have all these anxieties and stresses is because you are, that doesn't stop you from spending. You're still spending, but you do not know whether you're doing the right thing, because you do not know how far that will take you. Well, if you had the budget, if you had it planned, you're not worried about that. Let me give you a simple example, and it's personal. It's personal to me. Before we started doing budgets religiously, and we'll talk about budgeting, and we'll see how to really do budgeting correctly. Before we started that, we used to go out as family. You know, you'd go out and do stuff. You know, you're going out for a meal, you're taking our kids out to play somewhere, you're doing this. We're doing those things. But sometimes they become really, they cause this element of stress. You kind of feel like, am I spending too much? Am I going to be afford this? Or is this the right thing to do? Or sometimes you're trying to you're buying your kids, you know, new shoes, for instance, or this, that, or the other. You're doing that, but at the back of your mind, you've got these conversations going that, am I spending too much on this? Should I be spending less? Or am I not spending enough? Why? Because you do not know where your money is supposed to go. Now, when it got to a point where we were having budgets, and when I'm talking about budget, it's like we had budget for everything, including outings, you know, and meals out and stuff like that. So when we go out for a meal, for instance, there is a budget for it. And say, for instance, you know that in the outing budget, you've got £100 in there, for instance, on this particular month. And so when you go out and you spend £80, you are so stress-free, because you know you're not affecting any other spending. You know, like that came from the budget for that thing, and therefore you're spending that without really worrying about anything else. You don't have to worry about the bills. You don't have to worry about whether you will be able to buy your child shoes for the following month. You know why? Because you know exactly that the money you're spending now was actually for that, and it was set aside for that. And that you will be amazed how much it relieves you of the burden of thinking about everything else with every spending that you do. So I totally agree with you. Mentally, it makes a huge difference if you plan your spending. But then there are also financial benefits to it as well, as we shall keep seeing as we go forward. Guys, allow me to share with you my screen one more time. Where is it? Right. Now, I want to talk to you a little bit about Parkinson's law of money. I mean, Parkinson's law basically is law about work and efficiency and efficiency in the workplace and things like that, which basically says that any work will expand to fill the time allocated to it. Does that resonate with anybody? If you have something to do and you say, I give myself a week to do it, it will take you a week to complete it. You know, if you said, I'll have a month to do that same amount of work, it will take you a month to complete it. The sense of urgency, you know, the way you do it, everything, somehow it will end up filling the time that you're allocated. If you say you need to do it in 2 days, you will get it done. The same amount of work, you will get it done in 2 days. So that's Parkinson's law. So that the work will always expand to fill out the time allocated to it. Now there is like an adaptation when it comes to finance. You know, the Parkinson's law of money is adaptation of that same law, but when it comes to money, and this is what it says, that expenditures always rise to meet income. So as a general rule, if you earn £1,000 per month, chances are your expenditures will be £1,000 a month, thereabouts. Maybe a bit more, maybe a bit less, but it will be thereabouts. If somehow you get a pay rise and your salary goes up to 1,500, in no time your expenditures will be 1,500 as well. If it goes up to 5,000, I guarantee you within a couple of months, your expenditures will be £5,000 or thereabouts. And that's what Parkinson's law is, that always your expenditure will rise to meet the income. Now, it's like this illustration right here. I don't know whether you can all see this bucket that I've put right here. Basically, it's like a bucket with so many holes, okay? When it has little water in it, when you pour little water in it, it's not losing so much water, is it? Because only the holes at the bottom will be leaking water. So it's leaking, but it's not leaking so much. But the more water you put in it, the more it will leak. You understand what I mean? So you think maybe the key to stop it leaking is to pour in more water. Actually, no, because the more water you pour in, the more holes will start, you know, leaking water. And basically that's what Parkinson's law is, that the more income comes in, the more reasons to spend it you end up developing. And it's natural, that's human nature. That's how people naturally behave. Now, violating this law is key to financial freedom. If you want to achieve financial freedom, you have to learn to violate the Parkinson's law. What do I mean by that? I mean you need to learn to always keep your expenditures below your income. And even when your income goes up, you need to always make sure that your expenditures don't automatically rise up to meet their income, that your expenditures remain low. I mean, they may increase a little bit, but you don't want them to go and match the income, because if they match the income, you are, as far as financial freedom is concerned, you are no different to when you had a lower income. You understand? That's the reason why you hear exactly the same complaints from an employee, the same complaints with the manager, the same complaints with the director. Everybody complains about the same thing, that I'm broke, I can't do this, I'm running out of money. They have financial stress. Everybody has financial stresses, millionaires to those who are struggling to make ends meet. Everyone is struggling financially. Everyone is saying that they're broke. Why? Because Parkinson's law kicks in all the time. You earn £1 million, yes, but your expenditures also go up to £1 million. So what does that leave you at the end of the month? Broke. You earn £1,000 and your expenditures go to £1,000 at the end of the month. So where does that leave you at the end of the month? Broke as well. So you see, so if you can learn to violate that Parkinson's law and ensure that at any single time your income is always above your expenditures, or your expenditures are always below your income, then you're in your road to financial freedom. Why? Because you will always have that surplus income. You will always have that excess income that you can use towards saving. You can put it towards investing, and that can start creating new passive income that will start generating that passive cash flow that is very important and necessary to give you that the financial freedom that we all long for. Okay. Right. How many people know this guy? I'm sure Steve knows this guy. Hands up if you know this guy. Yeah. This is Warren Buffett. At one point, he was the third richest man in the world. I'm not sure if he still is now. Probably not. But he's a filthy rich man. He's minted. He's very rich. Let me just say it that way. He's very rich. Okay. Now there are a few lessons I want us to look from this guy. Basically this guy is an investor. Okay, and that's how he makes his money. He's the CEO and founder of Berkshire Hathaway, which is an investment corporation, and basically his business is to invest. Okay, and that's how he's made his billions over the years. But there is an interesting lesson that we can get from this guy. This guy, to this day, right, he still lives in a house that he bought in 1958 for just over £30,000. Okay. Now I have seen the pictures of this house. Okay, it's not a small house, but it is not a house of the third richest man in the world. Let me put it that way. It's a family home. It's just a simple family home, basically. And it's a house he bought in 1958, at a time where he was probably just a modest guy. I mean, he wasn't rich at that time. He was just a modest guy. And to this day, he still lives in that same house. And he still lives in a small town that he grew up in, Idaho. Now this guy epitomizes the idea of delayed gratification. You know what I mean? I mean, the guy still lives in a house he bought in 1958. I'm telling you, I don't think I could do that myself. But why am I pointing out? Why am I picking on this guy? All I'm trying to show is that rich people have learned the principle of that I was sharing with you before about violating the Parkinson's law. That if you want to become financially free, it is not just a matter of earning more money. Okay, it is about keeping your expenditures low and ensuring that your expenditures are always below what your earnings are. That is the key to financial freedom. So many of us, we think the opposite way. You think, oh, I'm really struggling financially right now. What can I do to increase my income? That's what a lot of people are thinking. What can I do to increase my income? I need to take more shifts. I need to work overtime. I need to, I need maybe to go back to university and sort of like add value to myself and get a promotion and get more money. I mean, all those things are good things, but I can tell you now, they will not solve your financial problem. Why? Because of Parkinson's law. The moment your income increases, whether because of overtime, because of you working more, whether because of you starting a new business, whether because of your promotion, Parkinson's law will kick in and your expenditures will also rise to match your income, and you'll find yourself in exactly the same rat race that you were before, only with more money coming and going, if that makes sense. Like, you remember that example of a bucket? When you're putting in little water, there are few holes at the bottom, it's losing water. You put in more water, there are more holes, and it's also losing more water. So basically, it becomes like a catch-22. It becomes what Robert Kiyosaki calls the rat race. The only way to avoid that is what? To seal those holes. So when you seal those holes, even if you're just filling it with small bucket, eventually that whole thing will fill and will start overflowing. Why? Because you've reduced the expenditures rather than just trying to increase the income in a bucket that will keep losing what comes in. So the key thing to financial freedom, more than anything else, is to violate Parkinson's law and ensure that your expenditures are always less, and substantially less for that matter, than than your income. Now I'm saying substantially, but that is relative. 1% can be substantial, 10% can be substantial depending on your circumstances, but you need to start somewhere. You need to look at your circumstances. Say at the moment everything is net, your expenditures is 2,000, your income is 3,000. So what you need to start doing, you need to cut it down and see, right, can I cut my expenditures to 1,900, for instance, or 1,950, and have these 50 pounds as surplus? It sounds modest, it sounds small, and you think, what is 50 pounds going to do? But that sets the tone, sets you on a path of positive finances, of positive net finances, and from there you can start building on it. Now if you can do 50, then maybe you can do 100. If you can do 100, maybe you can do 200. If you can do 200, you keep building on that. Okay. So Rand Scriber has this quote. He puts it, oh, hang on a second, what happened? He puts it this way. He says, rich people are busy being rich, while poor people are busy looking rich. It goes back to the keeping up with the Joneses, isn't it? Rich people, they are focused on how can I make my wealth go the furthest? How can I make sure that my money works for me? How can I make sure that I'm generating passive income, that I don't need to keep working all the time? How am I going to make sure that I'm leveraging what I have with other people's money and time and skills to make more money? You understand? That's how the rich people think. But the people who are not financially savvy, how do they think? They think, right, I've got this money, how do I spend it? How do I become relevant? How am I going to show people that I'm part of the fashion movement? I need to have the best phone in the market. I need to have the best car in the market. I need to have this, that, or the other. So another quote by Robert Kiyosaki, very similar to this. It says, rich people are busy buying assets, poor people are busy buying liabilities. It's the same thing. The things that make you look rich more often than not, they're liabilities, but they're just taking money off your pockets. Things that make you look good, but they're not necessarily good for you. That makes sense in financial terms. That's what I mean. But yeah, so all these are things I'm throwing at you as food for thought, and they're not meant by any means to kind of point a finger or saying, oh, no, you shouldn't do this or you shouldn't do that. But the things that we need to be thinking of every time we're thinking of spending. When we think of spending, you need to think of planning. You need to think, am I buying assets here? Is this thing really going to add value into my life? Is this thing really worth it? For the money that I'm spending on it, is this the best way for me to spend my money? Do I have a plan for it? All these things, are things that we really need to do. Is my expenditure below my income? All these things, we have to think of them every single time when we are thinking of spending. All right, that's the end of spending. Now, before I go to budgeting, I'll open it up to the floor again for a bit of a conversation and see what everybody thinks. So what are your thoughts, guys? Sister June.
Yeah. I think when you are talking about spending, I kind of also look at us, and I think sometimes also it stems right from the fact that many of us, we actually we really don't have like a bigger picture plan of our own lives. And therefore, when you are talking about that Parkinson law, the more, you get money, the more you spend it. And actually you realize you're spending it on the things which are actually not adding value to yourself. Instead, they are becoming like liabilities. And I'm kind of thinking, I think I had to take myself through a process, because I was doing exactly that until, I'm telling you, maybe 1 year ago. But I had to kind of get up from sleep, and it was, I think I had a chat with somebody, and then we were talking. For example, maybe if you had a loan, and maybe every month you are paying 200 pounds, and then you finish paying that loan. What does that mean? The following month you have 200 extra. But many of us, we will say, oh my goodness, the way I've toiled, let me treat myself. The first month goes, the 200 pound is spent. No, and then before you realize it start to come. But the reason I'm speaking about a bigger plan for our lives, if you already have a bigger picture plan for your lives, what you want to achieve, you will even be wishing like, can I finish paying this loan because I actually need this 200 pounds to put in this kind of investment. So when we are talking of money, I think let it kind of help us also to think of the bigger picture of our lives. And therefore, it will help us to avoid this kind of, money rising to your expenditure rising to your, to the more you have money. And I have realized how much we have kind of lost a lot of money because of not having that bigger picture. I was talking to a friend, I said, oh, I actually want to buy a house. And then this friend is asking me, and here I am talking, I live by myself. And then I am here, I'm saying, oh, I want a 3 or 4 bedroom house. And she looked at me and said, June, do you really need that? And that is the kind of mentality, because we think like, oh, having a massive house with 5 bedrooms, but do you know what? I will have acquired a liability, because all of a sudden I will start working for that house. And then this person was kind of taking me into a process and say, well, if your family will expand, you can add, but think big. One of our friends already is, they bought a 5-bedroom house. 2 of their children have gotten jobs and they've left. They've not even moved into the new house. And they're already thinking, we really made a mistake. We did not foresee this kind of. So it comes back to that aspect of the bigger picture of the plan. When you want to buy something, also kind of think ahead. How is this, the thing which I want to put money into, how is it going to be in the future? You might have, 3, 4, 5 children right now. After a few years, they will have gone. You're left there with your 6-bedroom house. It was really nice because every child had their bedroom. So it is all those little nitty things for us to kind of be thinking, spending as part of fulfilling the bigger picture of our lives.
Wow, that's fantastic. Thank you so much, June. Who wants to come in? Rennie?
Yes, I do. I think that's I like what June has just said. There's one guy who famously said that us Black people, we're the only race that spend money we don't have to try and impress people that we don't like. We buy things we don't need with money that we don't have to impress people that we don't even like. But coming again to what June has just said, I think the 5-bedroom house will never be a mistake. If your friend was having that conversation with me, there's many ways you can go about it. You could either rent the 2-bedroom house, get passive income like we were talking about last week, or you could rent the bigger house for more money and move to a smaller house, so you still get money coming in. So there's always ways to go about it. But an investment is always an investment. It can never go wrong so long as you put the investment in. That's all.
Yeah, Steve.
Yeah, but Ren, you see, what the problem is, you see, what you don't say. These people, they did not buy 5-house bedroom with an intention of renting it. They were buying it because we want a bigger house. So that's the problem. If they were buying it for that intent, that wasn't a problem. They already knew this is what we wanted, they had planned. But now to them, that was a surprise, like, oh, okay, I got 3 pair of shoes and then I just need 1. What happens? So that is the problem. So so that's what June was trying to say. You need to kind of do your numbers properly. Kind of repeat over and over and see, right, here I'm going. Because see, if they say, this is the only bullet you have. If you miss, I kill you. So you got 1 bullet, I have 1 bullet. If you miss me, I kill you. You're gonna really make sure you don't miss it. But if you got 5, you can just randomly. So the problem is they didn't have no plan for that. Now they got 5 and they don't need that one. They don't know what to do. They'll see you maybe. Junior will direct them to you, you give them ideas. That's that.
Les Brown, Les Brown famously said, you'd rather have, what did he say? He said, the reason most of us are not successful is because we aim too high and hit so low. We aim too low and hit it instead of aiming high. Now, the thing is, if you ask me, what if they had a 2-bedroom house and then the wife became pregnant? Then now there's a dilemma because they need to tone it down. You know, it's never a problem in the sense that, like this, life, they say the constant thing in life is change, and we have to accept it and live within it because it's change. So change does happen. So at the time when they were buying the 5-bed, that was convenient, but now life is changing because it's change, it's acceptable. That's everything that changes, you know. So because now change is happening, then they have to change with the circumstance. It's the same thing like when you buy a mansion, right? When you're young, you buy a mansion, your knees can go up and down that floor. But when you get to your 70s, you know, you just need a bungalow. Some people can't even go up. So what do? You could sell the mansion and buy yourself a small bungalow. It's just a small adjustment, it's change. That's what we're experiencing every single day. So we need to embrace it.
Yeah, Rennie, what I'm just saying, it's that the aspect of having a plan. You know, most of us, we actually act without thinking. And that is where most of us find ourselves in a problem. Mm-hmm. I am not saying, because like, when we were talking, our discussion went very far. I can't put all the details here, but it is doing something intentionally, knowing like, why am I doing that? Yeah. I am by myself. Why am I buying a 5-bedroom house? Why am I buying a 4-bedroom house? And I am by myself like this. Why am I doing that? If I am doing it to obtain passive income, then I will do it knowing that, okay, I will earn. But if I'm just doing it so that Charles will know that, yeah, June also has a beautiful house, that is the wrong intention. So the motive of doing things is what I'm saying we need to be taking into consideration. Like if you are a growing family, you will need a bigger house because you know that my family is growing. But you do not want to wait until a situation has happened and now you are starting to act in panic. Even people who had 6-bedroom houses, some of them knew, after my children have gone, I am going to downsize and they already know. You don't want to be taken by surprise because it will affect you even emotionally. When we start acting because we just have to, that is where problems normally start. But when you know well in advance that this which I'm doing, it will come a time I will have to adjust and do this. You take the bigger picture of your life with you, not just living like segments. There are things which we can't avoid. We can't know every detail of our lives, but there is much which we can kind of prepare so that we are not taken by surprise.
I'm liking this discussion. Eva, you had something to say. Do you want to come in?
Yeah, Rennie just took the words out of my mouth. The only constant thing in life is change, like literally. So that's why I put my hand down. But yeah, you both have very valid points in the sense that you have to have a plan. And when it changes, you need to change along with it. When it comes to spending, I always say as well, don't be too stingy on yourself. Leave some money for you to spend, like just for, you can just go out and just, because I think sometimes you can make money so strict that even your job feels like punishment, your life almost feels like punishment. So you have to strike a good balance. But I always say, have some money you can splurge and feel like, yes, I'm working, I'm happy, just make it a happy feeling. Give your money a good attribute to it. Then that way, once you have a good working relationship with your money, then it works for you. So yeah, thanks.
Oh, that is absolutely fantastic, Eva. Thank you so much. And thank you guys. I'm loving this discussion. It's really good. I like all the different flavors to it and all the different angles that we're having this conversation. It's very important that we have this conversation. And when we talk about budgeting, clearly we've run out of time, so we're not going to talk about budgeting today. But when we talk about budgeting, we'll probably because budgeting is about spending. Is how, well, budgeting is how you plan your spending. Basically, that's what it is. And therefore, we'll probably be having this very similar discussion going on. And I think what Eva has just said is very important. And I think that's the mistake that we make when we think of budgeting. Most of the times, we think of bills. When we think of budgeting, we think of those things that we must do. You know, you think of, I need to pay rent, I need to pay mortgage, maybe I need to pay car insurance, I need to pay bills. You think of those things, you know, those core bills, basically. We don't think of budgeting for, like I said before, like your dates. I don't know. Do you have dates with your spouse? I don't know. Your dates, or your nights out, or or whatever it is. You know, all the luxuries and the things. So when you talk about budgeting, you have to put all those things into account, so that when you're doing those things, you don't feel like you're actually messing everything else up, because then you'll be thinking of bills when you're partying, which you don't want to do. And when you're paying the bills, you'll be thinking, oh, I'm not going to party this month because you didn't budget for the party. You see what I mean? So when you come to talk about budgeting, you will see why it's very important to plan for all these things and think about all these things together, because they're all important, like what Eva said, and really make your spending something that you enjoy and have fun with it. But yeah, this is a really good discussion. I'll allow a few more contributions, and then we'll wrap it up for today. And then next time we'll talk about more in details about budgeting. So who wants to continue? Rennie, you have something to say?
Yeah, I was just going to add on to what Eva just said. I think, yeah, we need to celebrate the small wins, because the problem sometimes is we get all this information, and some of us want to try and not want to try. Some of us actually take them seriously. Okay, fine. I'm getting this small information from here and there. Let me see if this information can work for me. And I've been a victim of it, because sometimes you get so much stuck in life, and you want to be successful and everything, and you forget that even the small wins need to be celebrated. And hence, when you're doing all the budgeting, you say, okay, fine. I'll give myself a target, like I want to achieve A, B, C, D, and once I've achieved it, me and my partner, we can go out and crack some bottles, have a good time, and come back home. So it's those small things. We cannot be too serious, because anyway, we at the end of the day, we're gonna die. So let's enjoy ourselves, whilst trying to create this wealth. So can't hear you, Charles. You can't be heard.
Oh, I'm saying absolutely. Life is here to be lived. So yeah, absolutely. I think we'll carry this conversation forward when we talk about budgeting, because I think it's an extremely important subject, and I think it ties up everything else together. It ties up the saving bit, the investment bit, the spending bit, because it's the budget that will tell you how your money is being allocated. How much you're saving, how much you're spending, how much you're doing what, how much you're giving, how much you're investing. It's the budget that will tell you all that. And so I think it's a very important area that we'll need to sit down and really talk about that. And I think we'll spend so much time on it next time we meet. But before we go, I want to leave you with a definition, my definition of budgeting. And I'll just leave it to you as it is. I'm not going to explain it or anything. If you can write it down, please do, because we'll be talking about it. The definition basically is the whole subject of budgeting. And we'll kind of be looking at each element of it next time we meet. So let me see if I can share it with you quickly, and then we'll call it a day. Right now, this is my definition of budgeting. Set a plan well in advance on how you intend to spend your money, okay? Set a plan well in advance on how you intend to spend your money. And I've got keywords there. I've got those words that I've highlighted and underlined: plan, advance, intend, and your, as the keywords in that definition. So I just wanted to think about that a little bit. Set a plan well in advance on how you intend to spend your money, because in essence, that summarizes what budgeting is all about. Okay, so think about that. I'll leave that with you for the next 2 weeks to think about it. Next time we meet, we will start talking about budget and see what that entails. I'll invite 2 more contributions and then we'll wrap this up.
I'll go one more. I'll jump in because I think I just wanted to, so I like talking, as you can figure out. I wanted to summarize one thing, Charles, which you said in the beginning of it. Is the beginning, the very beginning. I have another version. It's just about your days and money. I had this from the good old TD Jakes. He said, and I just want like to put all of you guys into perspective, because when you think about this, then it probably will sink in deep to you. So TD Jakes comes, this was the example. I come to you and I say, look, I want your day. I want you to give me your all day today. And in exchange of that, I'll give you £500. So from 6 o'clock in the morning to 12 midnight, I own you. So basically anything I want you to do for me, you do it. So if I want to send you for my errands, you run my errands, you go everywhere because I own you for the day. And then at the end of the day, 12 o'clock midnight, I say, okay, here's your money, £400 I promised for your day. This is a day in your life that you'll never get back again. I've just taken it all. And then you take that £400 and then you say, you know what, actually, the new iPhone is come out. I'm gonna go out there and buy the new iPhone. And you go out there with your day that you'll never get back to buy an iPhone. You know, think about it. That's how we're exchanging our days in life. And we do that, we do so much because somebody will come in and say, oh, like, okay, let's say at home, they're proper carpets. Oh, my son is going to school, I need £300 school fees. That is fine, but you can send the £300. But when you think about it, I'm giving you £300. I'm giving you a day of my life that I will never get back. You still have your day of your life, but I'm giving you mine. You know, I mean, that's when you put the two perspective, it will teach you how not to spend unnecessary. Because when you see something out there and you consider, okay, for that's £50, that's a quarter of my day I'm giving out. You know, that with those thoughts for me, it's helped me a lot in life and it's helped me spend a little bit less. So I thought I'd share that with you. Absolutely,
absolutely. Yeah, that's what I was talking about earlier when I was talking about thinking in terms of value rather than just currency. Because sometimes when you just think in terms of, oh, it's just £200, it doesn't have the same effect. Well, when you think, oh, this is my full day's work, you know, I've lost this day and I'm spending it on this. Is it really worth it? So that's really important, thinking of value. And with different people, it may be different things, as the example that I gave of myself while I was in Tanzania. So it may be something else, but that equates to value more to you than maybe your time that you spend at work. But it's very important to always think value before you spend. But yeah, that's fantastic, Rennie. Final contribution from anybody else? Anybody that hasn't spoken before? David, I can see you smiling.
David, you're smiling. Come on, talk now.
You're on mute, my brother.
You're on mute, David.
I say I'm not very talkative, but I'll try my best.
Good. Come on.
Yeah. On the matter of spending, you know that it depends, you know, because like myself, I believe in giving, because when you give, I believe that's where you get return in it. Anything you cannot expect to return without giving, you know. But on spending as well, depending how you to say like myself, I work hard because for my family, my children, my wife, my family, my wife and my children, you know. Others extension is if I have something extra, I'll help them. But when it comes to my children or my wife, I haven't got hesitation of spending the money because that's what I'm working for. So for someone else, it can be that is like unnecessary or ability or something which is think themselves that, oh no, this money I have to budget in it. So what's the purpose of working hard? You're working hard for yourself, or you're working hard for, like myself personal, I work hard for my family. So when it comes to my children or my families, I haven't got no problem on spending. And also I would like my children to know the value of the money, because if they don't know the value of the money, they're not gonna those things I buy for them or I give to them, you know. And then when it comes to the things like my sister, what's her name? June. She was talking about big house. I was smiling myself, even if I was on the camera. Depend of perception as well, because what she's seeing it, you know. Because if she see herself in what she see herself in 5 years' time as well, because if she see herself in 5 years' time, she's gonna have a husband or a partner and have a children. So what's the point to have a one bedroom or single room today? So in 5 years' times, you can prepare yourself in 5 years' time, because all those things come in the faith. But because faith is something you believe that within 5 years I'll get a certain point, you know. Like also she can have a single room because she doesn't know, probably she doesn't see in 5 years' time. And as my brother there has mentioned some point also that even that when the situation change, you can downsize itself also is a good idea, you know. But at the same time, I like the conversation, I like everything, you know, and then hope next time I'll be joining also. Thank you.
Thank you so much, David. Thank you so much for your contribution, man. Some really good points there you've raised. You summarized it so well. I really don't have to say anything else, to be honest. You've summed up pretty much everything that we've been saying here. We've run out of time, guys. Again, I do apologize for the cock up at the beginning. I promise next time we'll make sure none of that happens and everything will be smoothly right on time. Bang on when we say we start, we'll be on air to start the meeting as usual. So like I said, we'll continue the conversation on budgeting next time. And basically, it's just an extension of this same conversation on spending, only looking more into how to budget for your spending more and look at different ways, share experiences on what we already do, what is working for us, what is not working for us, what we can adopt. And I'm sure we can learn a lot from each other on that point. Having said that, thank you so much. This has been a really rich discussion, very good contribution from everybody. Before I wrap this up, I'll welcome Steve if he has something to say, and then he'll wrap the meeting up for us. Thank you so much, guys. Fantastic meeting. Steve.
Well, just, yeah, because the time is far gone, just to say thank you very much for everybody's contribution. And again, as I say, my joy to have this kind of group really is that we can share ideas. That was my thinking in the past, and I was looking to see brothers and sisters, we people from all wherever we come from to here, we have this kind of time to kind of discuss and ponder and share our our knowledge and experiences. And yeah, so we are what we are at the moment, as you can see, but please try your best to be available next time and invite somebody else. But more than that, as I say, me and Charles, we're no gurus, but we are trying to kind of go through studies, check the philosophy, refine, study a little bit, prepare a slide, present it, moderate, but you also can come in. So, next time, Sister June, you can say, hey, give me steering, we'll give it to you. You're going to take us, we're going to take us. But thank you very much. I do appreciate, and let's keep sticking together. God bless you. Bye.
One last thing, guys. Next time, we'll probably go back to our normal time slot of 3:30 till 5. Today, we started later, but next time, we'll probably go back to 3:30 to 5. So in case you see the ads, always remember that we might be going back to the normal time. Apart from that, have a lovely weekend. Have fun, guys.